It's a piece of advice we've all heard our whole lives. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Fruits are often touted as nature's perfect candy, a non-negotiable cornerstone of any healthy diet. For most of our lives, that's true. But after 60, this simple advice can become surprisingly dangerous. What if certain popular fruits could interact with your daily medications, silently increasing your risk for a catastrophic stroke? It's a shocking truth backed by medical research. Not all fruits are created equal. Some seemingly innocent choices can turn essential prescriptions into potential poisons. This isn't a warning about one fruit. We're about to reveal the top 6 offenders that could be compromising your brain health. This is the vital conversation you need to have to truly protect yourself. Number 6. Canned fruit cocktail. Let's begin with an obvious-sounding culprit, but one that is far more sinister than most people realize. We all have that nostalgic image of a can of fruit cocktail. The vibrant red cherries, the sweet chunks of peaches and pears. It seems like a harmless, convenient way to get a serving of fruit into your diet. From a metabolic standpoint, however, what you're really looking at is a can of sugar-soaked, inflammation-driving chaos. The primary issue here is the syrup. The fruits are almost always swimming in a light syrup or heavy syrup, which are just marketing terms for sugar water. When you're over 60, your body's ability to manage blood sugar, known as insulin sensitivity, is often not what it used to be. For many, a state of insulin resistance has begun to set in, and this is a huge problem for vascular health. Every spoonful of that syrupy fruit sends a massive, immediate sugar spike into your bloodstream. In response, your pancreas has to work overtime, pumping out insulin to try and manage this sudden flood of glucose. Over time, this constant cycle of sugar bombardment leads to a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. It's helpful to think of inflammation as a slow-burning fire spreading throughout your body. Nowhere is this fire more dangerous than in your delicate blood vessels. Inflammation makes the inner lining of your arteries, the endothelium, irritated, brittle, and sticky. This creates the perfect environment for cholesterol to latch on and form dangerous plaques. A stroke is very often the tragic end result of one of these plaques rupturing and forming a clot that travels to the brain. To illustrate this, consider a common clinical scenario. A 78-year-old woman, let's call her Margaret, who was struggling to manage her type 2 diabetes. She believed she was making a healthy choice by having a small bowl of canned peaches every night for dessert instead of her usual cookies. Yet, her morning blood sugar numbers were consistently out of control, and she couldn't understand why. An investigation by her medical team revealed that this seemingly innocent, healthy dessert was delivering a sugar payload equivalent to a can of soda. This habit was keeping her in a state of constant inflammation, making her blood vessels dangerously fragile. Her healthcare provider switched her to a handful of fresh berries for dessert. Within just 1 month, her morning blood sugar levels stabilized. She had been unknowingly feeding the very fire that her diabetes medications were trying so hard to put out. Number 5. Dried fruits, raisins, dates, and figs. Here's another healthy food that often acts as an imposter. You've likely heard that dried fruit is a fantastic source of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And while that's technically true, it's a classic case of the potential benefits being completely overwhelmed by the negatives. The process of drying fruit is simple. It removes all the water. But what does that leave you with? An incredibly concentrated, bite-sized nugget of sugar. Think about it in practical terms. Could you comfortably sit down and eat 20 or 30 fresh, plump grapes in one sitting? It would be difficult for most people. But you could effortlessly eat a small box of raisins, which is simply 20 or 30 dehydrated grapes, in just a couple of minutes. You're consuming the exact same amount of sugar, but you're doing so without the water and fiber volume that would normally signal to your brain that you're full. For someone over 60, especially with underlying metabolic concerns, this is a recipe for disaster. That concentrated sugar hit causes the same inflammatory blood sugar spike as canned fruit, but it's often even more potent and rapid. It's like taking a slow-burning log and grinding it into a pile of gunpowder. The resulting metabolic explosion in your bloodstream is fast and furious. This high glycemic load puts an immense strain on your entire vascular system. Health professionals often use an analogy. Imagine your blood vessels are like smooth, flexible pipes. Every time you eat a handful of dates or raisins, it's like sending a rush of thick, sticky, corrosive sludge through those pipes. Over years and decades, that sludge damages the lining, contributing to the hardened, narrowed arteries that are the primary cause of ischemic strokes. Take the real-world example of Frank, a 69-year-old who loved to snack on dried figs and dates while watching television in the evening. He was proud of himself for choosing a heart-healthy snack over potato chips or candy. However, he was pre-diabetic, and his cholesterol was borderline high. This nightly habit was pushing his blood sugar through the roof while he slept, creating a perfect storm of inflammation and vascular stress. He eventually suffered a TIA, or a mini-stroke, which serves as a critical warning sign for a larger, more devastating stroke. The first intervention his healthcare provider made was to eliminate these sugar bombs from his diet.
His blood work improved dramatically, but the incident was a terrifying wake-up call about the hidden danger of these seemingly natural snacks. Number 4. Bananas. Now this one might come as a shock, and it's crucial to be very clear on this point. For the average healthy person, a banana is a perfectly fine source of potassium, fiber, and vitamins. But for a huge and growing subset of the over 60 population, bananas can pose a significant dual threat. The first threat is, once again, sugar. Bananas, particularly ripe ones with brown spots, are very high on the glycemic index. This means the carbohydrates they contain are converted into sugar and absorbed into the bloodstream very quickly. For anyone who is diabetic, pre-diabetic, or simply struggling with age-related insulin resistance, which includes a majority of older adults, a daily banana can present a significant problem. It contributes to that same state of chronic inflammation in the blood vessels that we've been discussing. But the second threat is the one that is most often missed, and it involves the very mineral bananas are famous for, potassium. Yes, potassium is absolutely essential for healthy nerve function and blood pressure regulation. However, this is only true under the condition that your kidneys are working perfectly. As we age, a condition called chronic kidney disease becomes incredibly common, and many people don't even know they have it in its early to moderate stages. When kidney function is impaired, the body can't filter out excess potassium from the blood effectively. This can lead to a dangerous condition called hyperkalemia, where potassium levels in the blood become dangerously high. Severe hyperkalemia can cause life-threatening heart arrhythmias, but even moderately elevated levels put immense stress on the entire cardiovascular system, significantly increasing the risk for a stroke. Think about the case of a 74-year-old woman, we'll call her Alice, who was brought into the ER with symptoms of extreme fatigue and heart palpitations. Her blood work came back showing dangerously high potassium levels. She was on the verge of a serious cardiac event. When doctors took her medical history, she mentioned that she ate a large banana every single morning for its potassium content, believing it was good for her heart. What she didn't know was that she had moderate, stage 3 kidney disease. For her specific physiology, her healthy banana habit was effectively poisoning her system. In her case, that daily banana was not a healthy food, it was a genuine and immediate threat. Number 3. The vitamin K crew, blueberries, kiwi, prunes. This next category requires extreme nuance, and it's a perfect example of why generalized, one-size-fits-all health advice can be so dangerous. Blueberries are constantly and deservedly hailed as a brain-boosting superfood, packed with powerful antioxidants. And for most people, they are. But for a very specific and large group of people, they hide a risk that can be fatal. This risk has nothing to do with sugar or potassium, but everything to do with vitamin K. Blueberries, kiwi, prunes, grapes, and especially leafy greens like kale and spinach are packed with it. Vitamin K's primary role in the body is to help blood clot. It's often called the coagulation vitamin. So who does this pose a risk to? It's a direct threat to the millions of people who have a history of blood clots, an irregular heartbeat, or other clotting disorders, and are prescribed the blood thinner medication warfarin. Warfarin is prescribed for one specific reason: to prevent the blood from clotting too easily. It is one of the most important medications available for stroke prevention in this high-risk patient population. Do you see the inherent conflict? Warfarin is working to make the blood thinner, while the vitamin K in these fruits is working to make it thicker. They are playing a biological tug-of-war inside the bloodstream. If a patient on a stable dose of warfarin suddenly starts eating a large bowl of blueberries every morning or begins drinking kiwi smoothies for their health, the sudden influx of vitamin K can overwhelm the medication and render it ineffective. Their blood can become thick and prone to clotting once again, completely defeating the purpose of the substance and putting them at an extremely high risk of forming a clot that causes a stroke. The key with warfarin is consistency. A sudden, dramatic change in vitamin K intake, even from healthy fruits, can throw the entire delicate system out of balance with potentially devastating consequences. Number 2. Pomegranate. Now we're moving into the territory of truly serious and direct medication interactions. Pomegranate, much like grapefruit, has a powerful and well-deserved reputation as a superfood. It's loaded with unique antioxidants and has been shown in studies to have benefits for heart health. But, and this is a huge but, it shares a dangerous secret with our number one offender. Pomegranate and its juice are potent inhibitors of a critical enzyme called CYP3A4, which is located in your liver and intestinal wall. This enzyme is responsible for metabolizing or breaking down a huge percentage of common medications. Pomegranate acts in a very similar way to grapefruit, blocking this enzyme's action. This blockage prevents medications from being broken down properly, leading to a sudden and dangerous increase in their concentration in your bloodstream. The list of affected medications is long and includes some of the same widely prescribed substances affected by grapefruit, such as certain statins and calcium channel blockers. So while someone might be diligently avoiding grapefruit because their doctor or pharmacist warned them about the risk, they could be unknowingly creating the exact same dangerous situation by drinking pomegranate juice or taking concentrated pomegranate extract supplements. For many people, the effect of pomegranate might be less pronounced than with grapefruit, but the underlying mechanism is identical. It's like playing a game of Russian roulette with your medication. Depending on your personal genetics, your specific medication, and its dose, a glass of pomegranate juice could have a minor effect, or it could be the trigger that pushes a substance's concentration into the toxic zone. This can lead to the same catastrophic drops in blood pressure or inflammatory crises that can precipitate a stroke. Given this significant risk and the fact that many safer fruit alternatives exist, the general medical advice for any patients on these critical medications is to avoid pomegranate entirely. It's simply not worth the gamble.
Number 1. Grapefruit. This is the big one. If you take away only one piece of information from this discussion, this should be it. Grapefruit is, without a doubt, the single most dangerous fruit for anyone over 60 who is taking common prescription medications. The interaction is so powerful, so well documented, and so potentially lethal that many in the medical community believe it's a critical oversight if it isn't discussed with every single patient on an interacting medication. The danger lies in a class of compounds in grapefruit called furanocoumarins. These compounds are incredibly potent inhibitors of that all-important CYP3A4 enzyme. They don't just slow the enzyme down, they can completely shut it down for up to 72 hours after just one glass of juice. This is what leads to a massive, uncontrolled overdose of medication accumulating in your bloodstream. The data is clear. This interaction can effectively double, triple, or in some cases, increase the effective dose of your medication by over 1,000%. This in turn can dramatically increase your risk of a serious adverse event, including a stroke. Two of the most dangerous perfect storms occur with common blood pressure medications and cholesterol-lowering statins. With blood pressure substances like nifedipine, the interaction can cause blood pressure to plummet to dangerously low levels. This severe hypotension can starve the brain of oxygen-rich blood, directly causing an ischemic stroke. With common statin substances like atorvastatin and simvastatin, the interaction can cause up to a 1,500% increase in the substance's concentration. This can lead to a severe side effect called rhabdomyolysis, a rapid breakdown of muscle tissue that releases damaging proteins into the blood. This creates a system-wide inflammatory crisis that can cause acute kidney failure and rupture an arterial plaque, sending a clot directly to the brain. What's particularly frightening about this interaction is how innocent it seems. It can be caused by a single glass of juice with breakfast or half a grapefruit as a snack. The person taking it has no idea they are doing anything wrong. They might suddenly feel dizzy, weak, or collapse, and they arrive in the ER actively having a stroke. Doctors run tests and can be baffled by the sudden, extreme reaction until a deep dive into the patient's diet reveals the culprit. It is a profound tragedy because it is so profoundly preventable. If you're over 60, grapefruit could make your medication toxic. Like and subscribe for more health secrets. Are doctors keeping silent about other healthy foods that could actually harm you?